She thought he was just a driver, someone beneath her class. But every morning, he carried her dreams on 4 worn-out tires, until the day he disappeared. Miriam, a proud businesswoman, hires a humble young driver named Daniel. He's quiet, respectful, and never complains, even when she insults him in traffic or sends him on errands at midnight. What she never knew was that Daniel had fallen deeply in love with her from the moment he saw her crying in her car one night. When Miriam's company faces bankruptcy, Daniel secretly sells his only car, his father's legacy, to settle part of her debt. She finds out too late, after Daniel vanishes without a word. Months later, she attends a charity event and sees Daniel, now working as a logistics manager for the company that bought hers. When their eyes meet, the same man she called just a driver becomes the man who teaches her the meaning of quiet love. The first day Daniel drove Miriam, he arrived 15 minutes early. He stood beside her black SUV, head bowed, hands clasped behind him, the way a respectful man was taught to stand. When Miriam finally stepped out of her mansion, heels clicking against the marble floor, her eyes barely brushed him. "Good morning, Ma," Daniel greeted softly. She didn't reply. She just opened the door, adjusted her sunglasses, and said, "Drive. And don't talk unless I ask you to." Those words stung, not because Daniel expected kindness, but because he already knew he was invisible to her. Yet, he smiled faintly and replied, "Yes, Ma." Miriam was a woman everyone in the city respected. Rich, confident, always smelling of imported perfume and power. She ran a fashion company that employed over 100 workers. But behind her fierce elegance was a loneliness that even her tinted windows couldn't hide. Daniel saw it one night. He had gone to pick her up from an event. She sat in the back seat quietly, scrolling through her phone until a single tear slid down her cheek. She wiped it quickly, thinking no one saw. But Daniel did. And that was the night his heart bent toward her, not out of pity, but from a strange tenderness he couldn't explain. Every morning, he carried her dreams on 4 worn-out tires. He listened to her phone calls, her sighs, her frustrations with clients, and her anger with men who betrayed her trust. She never noticed how carefully he opened the car door for her, or how he smiled at every reflection of her in the side mirror. She just saw a driver. But Daniel saw the woman she tried to hide, the broken, gentle soul behind the designer clothes. Miriam treated Daniel like part of the furniture. She shouted when he took a wrong turn, called him slow when traffic delayed them, and sometimes made him sleep in the car during late-night events. But Daniel never raised his voice. One night, after a board meeting ran late, Miriam complained of a headache. Daniel drove her home quietly. Halfway through the ride, he parked by a pharmacy, stepped down in the rain, and bought her painkillers with his own money. When he returned, dripping wet, Miriam frowned. "Why did you stop?" "I didn't ask you to." Daniel smiled. "I know, Ma. But I couldn't watch you in pain." She said nothing, just stared at him for a moment, then turned away. But something in her chest tightened. Over the following weeks, Miriam began to notice him. How he always opened her door, how he never looked directly into her eyes, how he spoke softly even when she was angry. She caught herself watching him through the mirror sometimes, wondering how someone so poor could look so peaceful. Then came the storm. Her company, Marigold Designs, was drowning. Her business partner betrayed her, investors pulled out, and the bank threatened to seize her assets. Miriam was broken. She stopped eating. She stopped smiling. Daniel noticed. He watched her crumble each morning, makeup hiding the evidence of sleepless nights. And one evening, when she broke down in the back seat, whispering, "I'm ruined," Daniel's heart shattered. He couldn't help her with advice. But he could help her with love, even if she never knew it. Daniel's father left him one thing before dying, an old Toyota Camry. It wasn't much, but to Daniel, it was his legacy. When he learned that Miriam owed a debt that could cost her company, he did something foolish, or perhaps divine. He sold his father's car, took the money, and quietly deposited it to clear part of her debt. He never mentioned his name on the transfer. He just wrote one line. From someone who believes in you. The next day, Daniel didn't show up. Miriam called his number, but it was switched off. She waited days, then weeks. He had vanished, without a word, without a trace. Then came the shocking discovery. A message from her bank confirming the anonymous payment. When she traced it, she found Daniel's name on the receipt. Her knees weakened. She remembered the night he bought her medicine, the way he smiled in silence, the way he watched her pain like it was his own. Tears filled her eyes. "Oh, Daniel, you sold your car for me?" For the first time in her life, Miriam felt small. Smaller than the man she had called just a driver. 6 months passed. Miriam rebuilt her life slowly. Her company had been bought by a larger logistics firm, and she was invited to a charity dinner organized by the new management. She dressed elegantly, not as the arrogant woman she once was, but as someone who had learned the cost of quiet kindness. As she walked into the hall, she froze. There he was, Daniel, standing tall, confident, and radiant in a fitted suit, laughing with some executives. His badge read, Daniel E. Keene, Logistics Manager. Her heart skipped. When their eyes met, time stopped. The same man she once looked down on now looked at her not as an employee, but as an equal. She walked up to him slowly, her voice trembling. "Daniel, you disappeared." He smiled gently. Sometimes love must disappear, to be seen. Tears rolled down her cheeks. "You sold your car, for me. Why?" Daniel looked into her eyes for the first time. "Because I saw something in you the world couldn't see. You were strong, but tired. Beautiful, but lonely. I didn't want your thanks. I just wanted your peace." Miriam broke down. For the first time, she hugged him, not as an employer, but as a woman who had finally understood love. That night, beneath the soft music and golden lights, she whispered, "Daniel, I never knew. My driver was my destiny." He smiled. "You didn't have to know, Miriam. You just had to feel it." Moral lessons. 1. Never look down on anyone. Love often wears humble clothes. 2. The purest hearts don't demand attention. They give without expecting anything in return. 3. True love doesn't shout. It sacrifices in silence. 4. Sometimes, the person you ignore is the one silently praying for you to succeed. Did this story touch your heart? Then don't keep it to yourself. Someone out there needs this reminder that real love still exists. Subscribe, share, and comment. True love speaks in silence. If you believe that kindness can change a heart.